there, my name is Megan and welcome back to my channel. Today I'm going to be doing the fantasy character tropes book tag. I was tagged by Dominish Books, who is just the coolest person in the world, and he is a booktube newbie. So if you have not already checked out his channel and subscribed to him, I'm going to go ahead and link it in the cards. Definitely do so. So thank you, Dominic, for tagging me. This is a fairly short tag. There are only 7 prompts, but before we go ahead and get on into it, if you are not already subscribed to my channel, please go ahead and hit that subscribe button, as well as the little bell icon so you can be notified every time I post new bookish content. I post new videos every Monday, Wednesday, Saturday, and sometimes other days throughout the week. Also, don't forget to check down in the description box for links to all of my social media, my Buddy Read Discord, and my Patreon, where you can be entered into winning bi-monthly book giveaways. Prompt number 1 is the chosen one. What is a book that you recommend to everybody? For this, I'm going to go with Senlin Ascends by Josiah Bancroft. This is a book that I read just this year, and it is definitely one of my favorite books so far of 2021. The reason that I would recommend this is because it's not your traditional fantasy, but yet there are fantastical elements. It's more bizarre than fantasy, but we follow a character named Senlin who lives in this fantastical world, but it draws on inspirations of our own world. And he and his new wife are traveling to the Tower of Babel, which is known as like this great construction feat, and they have different levels, and all the different levels you can experience different things. So they are trying to go to like this resort spa level, and he ends up losing his wife their first day there, and he has to do everything he can to figure out who took her, where she is, and if he can get her back. The reason I like this book so much is just how bizarre it is and how it worked with the story. Not only that, but the author has a way of using certain words to aid in the bizarreness of the world, like the way that he describes things. And I loved reading about Senlin because he starts off as like a quiet kind of bookish teacher, which I can totally relate to, but we definitely start to see his transformation through this story, and I've heard that it does carry on into book 2, which I haven't read yet. And there is more to the Tower of Babel than is originally thought, which I found really interesting. So definitely a good book, and I highly recommend it. Prompt 2 is The Secret Heir. What is a book that surprised you or was more than you expected? For me, I'm going to go with Prince of Thorns by Mark Lawrence. I read this a couple of weeks ago, and honestly, I was expecting to hate it. I was expecting to DNF it because I've heard such bad things about it. I've heard that the main character is just awful, and yes, he is. He's horrible. He's violent. He's obsessed with revenge. He's admitted to rape in the past, but I loved this book. I loved how dark it was. I loved the main character and just being inside of his head and understanding why he was the way he was and the way that he thought. I found the main character, despite how despicable he was, to be incredibly interesting, and I cannot wait to read on with the series to continue his story and see his arc and what he goes through and how he changes. I'm also interested to see more expansion on the world because the world does have a lot of parallels to our own, and I want to see how that plays into the story. So definitely one of my favorite books of the year so far. Prompt 3 is An Evil Overlord. What is a book that fell flat for you? And I'm going to go with Tower Lord by Anthony Ryan. This is book 2 in the Raven Shadow series. And I read Bloodsong. I absolutely loved Bloodsong, but then I read Tower Lord and I really struggled with it. I found the story to be extremely boring. I also found that we were following another character through, if I remember correctly, about half the book that I really was not engaged with. I found that Valen, our main character, kind of lost a lot of his luster, and we also learned some things about him that really didn't make sense with how he acted in the first book and how he was able to be successful in the first book, and it kind of just threw me off, and I didn't like the author's choice with that. I do want to reread this series. Well, I never finished it, but I do want to reread Bloodsong and Tower Lord because Bloodsong was so strong, and I feel like there was too much time that passed between Bloodsong and Tower Lord that I might have just missed some stuff. But from what I remember, this book fell flat for me. It was boring. I didn't care about any of the other characters whose point of views we followed, and Valen just didn't seem like the strong character that he was portrayed in book 1. Prompt 4 is Reluctant Hero. What is a book that you're not sure you want to read? And for me, I'm going to go with Rage of Dragons by Evan Winter. I've heard such mixed things about this book, so if you've read this book and you liked it, or even if you didn't like it, definitely comment down below. Some of the reasons that I'm not sure I want to read it is I've heard that this is a revenge story, which is fine. I don't have a problem with revenge stories, but I do have a couple on my shelves that I do want to get to first because I already own them. I've also heard that the main character, whose name I don't remember, he's kind of like an immature, annoying character, which I can deal with that if the character does like grow throughout the series or the story, and I'm not sure if that happens with our main character because I'm just thinking about Kip from the Lightbringer series. Oh boy, I couldn't stand him at first, but his arc is like awesome. And I've also heard that this book doesn't have any dragons, and that's kind of disappointing because if you read the title, you're like, oh, there's gonna be dragons in the book, and I've heard that there are none, and it's more metaphorical. I don't know. So this is a book that I'm still not sure I want to read. Prompt 5 is Lucky Novice, a great debut book. I'm going to go with Malice by John Gwynne. I'm pretty sure this is a debut work. I've only read Malice, and I think that it is a very, very strong sword and sorcery type of story. It really has those classic fantasy elements to it. We have that like medieval setting. We have the story of the boy who's trying to grow into a man. We have the mentor trope. We have the prophecy trope. We have a lot of those traditional fantasy tropes that we all love and read about because they're awesome. But I feel like John Gwynne definitely put his own spin on some of these tropes and made them his own, which is an awesome thing to do. And I've also heard that the series does get better as it goes on. My goal is to read Valor in June. I'm going to try because everyone keeps telling me it's awesome. And I felt like this was a very strong start to a series, and I'm excited to continue. The next prompt is The Mentor, a book that was formative to your life. And when I think about like my life, I'm thinking about my reading life because I definitely wouldn't choose this book for like my normal life. But I'm going to go with Interview with a Vampire by Anne Rice. And the reason I'm going to go with this is because it really, really developed my love for the dark and the macabre, because this book is definitely not a pleasant book. It definitely deals with a lot of dark themes, a lot of dark characters that are morally gray. There's a lot of philosophical questions about life and existence in this book, and it really, really gripped me when I first read it. I do want to do a reread of this because I don't know if I would still love it the same way I did when I was a teenager, and it really opened up my reading into the more dark and gritty and horror type elements in fantasy, especially vampire fantasy. You can't really shy away from the fact that these vampires are brutal vampires, and I absolutely loved it when I first read it. I even liked the movie, which is kind of cringeworthy, but definitely a book that was formative in my reading life. And the last prompt is Animal Companion, a book that broke your heart or made you smile. And I'm going to go with Make Me Smile just because no one likes heartbreak. And I'm going to choose The Night Circus by Erin Morgenstern. I am not one of those people that absolutely loves this book. And I know this is like some people's favorite book of all time. I personally liked it. I did not love it. But the reason I'm choosing it for the fact that it makes me smile is this book is probably one of the most whimsical books that I have ever read. So if you're looking for a book that is full of whimsy, that is like a fairy tale, that carries you away to this utterly fantastical world, then read The Night Circus. There were scenes in this book I was like, I'm in a dream. I'm reading a painting. How is she choosing these words? How does she describe things like this? And just the utter nonsense of some of the scenes, just the fantasticalness of them was so well done. And that's what I like about this book. The characters, meh, the plot, meh, but the writing and the whimsy definitely made me smile, sent me to my happy place. So I'm going to go with The Night Circus. All right, you guys, so that is it for the Fantasy Character Tropes book tag. I tag you if you are watching this video, and let me know in the comments if you're going to be doing this tag or what some of the answers for some of these prompts might be, and I will see y'all soon in another video. Goodbye! Today I'm going to be doing the Fantasy Tropes book... Oh, nope. Today